My coworker died, and 4 days later, my employer had a pizza party. And I just want to share this story with you. I just started a job in a big finance firm, and I was so excited for my new salary. I was excited at the prospect of climbing the corporate ladder and really making something of myself. I started my training. My family were so proud that they could tell their friends where I worked. They would say, "Look, my son has a real job." And I really genuinely thought this would be somewhere where I could feel happy, fulfilled, and satisfied with my work. But about a month or so into the job, an email came around from one of the directors. Sadly, one of my co-workers had suddenly and unexpectedly passed away. It wasn't long before emails were being sent around about talking to people and the importance of good mental health, etc., until we heard through the grapevine that my co-worker, a man in his 30s with a family, had taken his own life. Whatever was going on in his life and in his head, he just couldn't take it anymore. And I can remember going back through some of the emails that had been sent from him to see if I could see any warning signs, anything that I could pick up on, but no. In fact, he had even signed off some of his very recent emails with a smiley face emoji. Nothing on the surface would have ever brought anyone to the conclusion that the guy was so incredibly depressed with life. Links for online counselling were shared around by management, and we were told to come and talk to someone if we were feeling down or affected by what had gone on. But after a couple of hours, the talks of mental health disappeared back into the ether, and talks of deadlines, numbers, and profit returned. The company didn't really care about my coworker. They cared about appearing to care. But deep down, they just needed another resource lined up to replace his lukewarm office chair. And sure enough, when the company hit a big milestone a few days later, they threw a pizza party. Yes, you heard me correctly. When some of his team members were still drying their tears at losing their colleague, the company had long moved on, probably before the man was even buried 6 foot under. And I felt this strange feeling in the pit of my stomach with what was going on, because I knew deep down that I could see some of myself in the circumstances around me. Not that I would ever do what my coworker did, but that I was painting a version of myself on the surface that was totally inconsistent with my inner hopes, my inner dreams, and my inner desires. I loved skateboarding, traveling, playing guitar, playing video games, volunteering, and yet here I was, day in and day out, updating numbers on an Excel spreadsheet. It just felt so pointless. And it was clear that day that my rose-tinted glasses were removed, and I was able to see the clear lesson in what was going on. And here's what I learned. I learned that big companies don't care about you, and that they will replace you the second you stop being useful to them. And truthfully, here's the sad part. Truthfully, if you died, they could replace you with someone younger, cheaper, and with less expectations. And I'm not saying this, or I'm not making this video to make you feel jaded or depressed. And in fact, I don't even necessarily think it's an objectively bad thing that companies don't care about us. But we need to recognize this before it's too late. Before we've built our entire self-worth around our job, and our entire self-image around a job where you really mean nothing to the actual owners. It's crazy to me that so many of us put all our mental health, our blood, our sweat, our tears, and our most valuable asset of all, time, into a company to make profit for our boss's boss, who we don't even know his real name. And this isn't just in corporate either. This is anything or any place where you're trading time for money. You've no ownership in it, and you've no freedom for growth. It could be a warehouse job, a supermarket, an engineering firm, etc. Something that I'm really trying to hone in on, and something I'm really trying to do, is transition into side hustles where I actually have some agency over my own life. I came to the realization that if someone were to offer me half of my current salary for life, if I quit my job right now, I would take it. I would take their arm off for it, to be honest, and I would make it work as well as I possibly could. That's how much I value my free time over my current salary, and that's how much I value wanting to live life on my own terms. I can't stand, I still work in corporate, but I can't stand having to play the corporate game. Let's jump on a Zoom call and, oh, great weather we're having today, can't wait for the weekend. No, it makes me physically sick playing that game. And then your giga stressed Karen manager is breathing down your neck every 5 seconds, asking why your team status is yellow and not green. Please stop. Can we all stop? I don't want us all to fall into this trap. That is why I've been trying to build side hustles. I've been building up my investment portfolio to avoid this being my whole life. I'm planning my escape and I'm planning my exit. Don't give your life and your time to a company that will suck the soul out of you, depress you, and throw a pizza party after you're gone. Build something. Do something. A side hustle. YouTube, a service, investment income, anything. When you own something, you can build your freedom. Personally, I use Upwork, I have investment income, I have different side hustles, and these are all things that I'm trying to build to the point where I can eventually exit, not escape, but exit my current 9 to 5. Because when you own something, you can build your freedom. When you're a cog in the machine, you'll only ever be unappreciated, depressed, and overworked. And I thought for too long that there was no escape until things like my coworker dying gave me a new perspective on what's really important. That could have been me, but I'm thankful to God that it's not. So let's build, take ownership, and never let our lives be dishonored by a pizza party after we go. There's always a way out. Shout out to my former coworker and his family. I barely knew you, but I've never forgotten you and the lessons that I learned through those circumstances. If you've gotten this far in the video, thanks for listening. I've really enjoyed making this. I've really enjoyed talking about this topic, and I'll see you in the next one.